Hello, my beautiful friend. Today's video is going to be about preferences, about transcending your preferences. But first, I would like to say that if you notice, I have been MIA with my videos and little check-ins on social media. And the reason for that is because I am learning how to honor the cycles, and just like moon cycles, right? Just like planting something during certain moon phases for it to grow better, and the tides and everything else in this on this planet, right? It has cycles, seasons, cycles. One, at some point you are giving, and at some point you are receiving. You are in the quiet stage, you are learning, you are observing. And I decided to, no matter what, honor those cycles and not fall victim into the pressure of performing by the algorithm. I think that we have created this system. Maybe we made a couple of mistakes here and there, but I think that the system does not honor the cycles at all, right? We are, no matter whether it's social media and the algorithm, or our school system, and I'm not blaming anything by any means. I'm just as much of the creator of this as anyone else. And I just see that the system is set up in such a way that there is absolutely no consideration for cycles, for natural cycles of life, for the phases that a human being goes through monthly or sometimes yearly. But let's talk, about like weekly, monthly cycle, daily cycle. We all have a good phase of where we want to be vocal, we want to be active. The information just pours through us, and then we have those times where we are on the receiving end. We're learning. We need to be quiet. We want to go. We want to turn inwardly and work in our inner space. And I feel like social media is possible, right? Unless it becomes a thing that you're trying to be your work, to be your job, where you're need to get followers, to get money, to get exposure. Then your cycles are not honored at all, right? Then you have to perform, you have to continue to let the videos out. And even if you're not after followers, or even if you're not after the views and the likes and the money, you are still sort of pressured in this day and age, right? You feel the pressure. You're not pressured, but you feel the pressure to let everybody know how your day went. Or if you're doing something, you need this validation, right? You need to record it and share it. And when you do it naturally, it's great. But then when you stop, you feel this sort of obligation to continue to report, but there is nothing to report. Or sometimes you're just so busy enjoying being in the moment that reporting becomes a distraction and takes away from your lesson, takes away from your study, takes away from your observation, because it's a thing that you have to do, right? So I've been honoring my natural cycles as I always do, but this time I just decided to be completely unpressured, even by my own self. When I feel like, okay, I want to record something, but I know the lesson is not complete, I decided not to record anything at all. And I feel in a way that the entire concept of social media is kind of like the concept of the cat in the box. I don't know if you remember that from back in the day. We had this thing. It was the big question: is the cat in the box alive or dead? Right? Because you can't see him. But the main question, the question behind the question, was something like: is the cat dead or alive if nobody's watching? Right? So I think it is very important to come back to a space where you know that you are good and that you are alive and that your experience is wonderful and that your experience is full, even without it being validated by social media, by you having to post your experience, even if it's not validated by the number of views or by the number of likes. You are still alive, and you are actually having one of the most magical experiences, even if you're not posting it immediately on the social media. That experience is still valid. It still matters. You are learning, you are collecting, you're actually honoring the cycle, the natural cycle of life, of giving, of expressing, and then receiving, going inward, collecting, soaking in the information, observing, let somebody else give and you receive and you be the watcher, right? So that's what I've been doing so far, but now I think I'm on the cusp of the giving cycle again. And it is so interesting because, and I'm sure you all are going through the same exact thing, because when you are in a giving phase, your videos are like, you're recording them same day. You're going to record a bunch of videos, right? Because that the flow, you're in the flow state now. When you recognize your cycles, which not all of the cycles, well, all of the cycles of course are connected to the moon cycle, but that's why we also have our own little planets, right? So you're born under a certain planet and a certain combination of planet, because that's going to be your personal cycle, right? So because if we all were under the same cycle of the moon, right, then all of us would be it'll be a pretty drastic change, right? If all of us do the same thing at the same time, and then the same thing at the same time, and then all of us are quiet and all of us are loud, right? So that's why we have these other planets, kind of planets, of course, are a representation of inner stuff. So, but let's just go with the flow and allow the thought that planets are the ones that allow that direct our personal cycles, but you would have to honor your personal cycle, right? So get to know yourself first, and then begin to honor. You'll see it's a pattern. You will want to self-express, and then you will want to go deeper back and inward inside. And what ends up happening when we don't do that, we are creating these, first of all, we are creating realities that are not true, right? So what ends up happening in social media, or well, what ends up happening is that we either force ourselves to be active, to be social, because it becomes, work to put on a happy face and go and record something and put it out there. Or on the other hand, we feel dissatisfied with ourselves if we don't do that, right? So we create an issue, right? Because we're not understanding that all we need to do is just honor the cycles. Another way that we create issues, problems, if we create blockages, is when we're not honoring the cycles. And let's say we decide to feed the system that wants that consistency, right? Like the algorithm of YouTube channel or the algorithm of Instagram channel, right? We play the game. We decide to feed the algorithm the way it wants to be fed. So we figure out, okay, well, I'm not honoring my cycles, right? Sometimes I'm very creative and sometimes I'm very calm and I just want to be, I'm internalizing things. So what can I do? Oh, let me record a ton of videos, right? And then space them out as the time goes on. Now, if you're creating videos like that in a natural flow, while you're in a state of natural flow, by all means, right, you are then spacing out that natural flow energy. You're just kind of spacing it out. But when you're just mechanically pre-recording something to feed the system, then all you are doing is feeding the system, but you are not really you're not out there with your heart to the viewer, and the viewer sees it, right? Because a watcher, a viewer, which all of us are creators and watchers and the viewers, we all are who we are, and we can tell when somebody is feeding the system through us, right? Through our views. And we can recognize the energy when it's not a state of flow energy, but a forced energy that is just being used to collect our likes, to collect, whatever. When the intention behind the videos that are like coming out every day is just to keep yourself relevant, right? The viewer, they can feel it. It's uncomfortable. It takes away the magic from the process of self-expression, right? When it becomes this mechanical thing that you have to feed the system every morning, you have to post, to keep the algorithm going. So you're just basically agreeing that the system is okay the way it is, and you're going with it and feeding into it, or feeding it, right? So I'm balancing things out in between that. I've been through all of these phases myself, so I'm observing my own mistakes and learning from them, and recognizing and realizing that what is important is to self-express, but self-express not for the views, to self-express because that self-expression is, or that idea is knocking and telling you, hey, I want to pass through, can you please let me out? And then you are allowing a self-passage to that idea through yourself, right? It's kind of you're then acting as a vehicle for the divine to pass on the message, right? Or otherwise I feel like there is then we're abusing the system, and then we're keep creating systems that don't honor cycles, when we are force feeding the viewer through this unnatural feed, right? The feed that is not organic, right? It's like I modified everything and cut it up, and then I'm serving it to you for weeks, unfresh refrigerated feed, or frozen feed. The viewer can tell the difference, or maybe not, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Nevertheless, this is the cusp. I'm on the cusp of self-expressing again, and I honored the cycle, and I stayed in the phase of receiving and learning and observing. And then what ended up happening is I'm not very good at yet seeing the cycle when it turns, right? So sometimes I overstay my welcome, so to speak, on in my inner world when I should be already self-expressing, or sometimes I overstay my welcome in the outer world when I should already shut up and go inside, go inward. All right. I also wanted to mention, yes, about our school. I see it with my children and other kids, especially very sensitive children who are already a little bit older than my kids, that what ends up happening is, since the natural cycles are not being honored, the cycle of, when the person is ready to be active and to learn, and he's on the receiving mode, and the mode that where you can't receive anymore, you just need to give. A lot of students are struggling, and they don't understand what is wrong with them, right? But in reality, nothing is wrong with them. It's okay, like, to not feel inspired, to feel this feeling of depression, decompression after you have received so much already, right? So I think it is very important, us as a collective, to start honoring these cycles and seeing what it is, practical ways of how we can honor a human cycle, right? And understand that, okay, maybe today is not a good day for everybody for an exam, right? Or maybe like this week is not necessarily the best week for this specific girl for a final, right? Because it's not her, this natural cycle that she's going through right now is keeping her away from absorbing information. She cannot do that, just not happening. So maybe there can be an option of when you want to take an exam, let's say, right? And then work with that, or I don't know. This is just brainstorming, but let's get back to the natural cycles. But most importantly, to the main topic of this video. This was sort of like an introduction into this whole big sphere of understanding that I have received while I've been quiet. And I have been learning so much, and as I said, sometimes I don't yet recognize that phase where I need to start letting it out. So I feel like you guys are not understanding. I feel like right now it's gonna be a little bit fuzzy, right? Like a fermentation jar that you have left untouched, and you should have been burping it, letting a few things out here and there. And if you don't do that, then the first time you open it, it's gonna bubble up and everything is gonna come out, right? And then it's gonna be a little messy. Nevertheless, the fermentation is there, the process is begun, and there's lots of goodness in that jar. So that's what's happening with me and my process. I've received so much information, so much came forward, so much interesting stuff happened that it's right now kind of like a tumbleweed, and I don't know where to start. When you're looking at tumbleweed crossing the road, you see that it's made out of many little things, right? But you can't tell where the tumbleweed begins and where the tumbleweed ends. It's all just one thing, right? It's all just is. Similar with knowledge, right? Because everything is so interconnected and intertwined. All the lessons are one just leads into the other and is interconnected with this one and interconnected with this one. That sometimes when you are in the phase of expression and you want to express the lessons that you've learned, it is hard to know where to begin. But we're gonna just begin, and we're gonna begin here with our lesson of preferences. And let's think about it this way. Let's say that we are all in a school of life, and we all have different teachers, and they all teach us pretty much the same lessons, maybe just in a different sequence, and they're just different teachers. All right, it's kind of like going to all sorts of schools around Los Angeles, right? One person goes into this school, one into this school, but all of the students, regardless of which school they go to, they all have the same material to work with, right? They all are working with the same knowledge. And I'm sorry, I have to get back because I just said material and I forgot about one point that I did not mention previously. Forgive me for that. About forcing content and forcing things to happen without honoring natural cycles. Everything that you see around us is sort of a material. It is a materia prima. And what happens is we take this materia prima and we allow it to flow from the inside out, and it fills up our immediate 360, and we kind of observe our insides on the outside in a different way, in a linear way, and then when the cycle changes, we kind of begin to observe and learn and sort of bring this materia prima back inside, right? And internalize everything there, and transmute and maybe change things around, and then another cycle of self-expression begins. But what happens when you are forcing this materia prima, right? Let's say you're forcing it out, you're gonna stretch it, and it might rip, right? And then you have these holes in your in whatever you're creating, in your immediate 360 reality. When you are constantly in an observation phase and collection phase, a phase of self-observation, observation of the phase of learning, right? Then you're constantly pulling the fabric onto you. You're constantly breathing it in. You're constantly consuming it, right? And digesting it. And what happens if you constantly pull but you never give out, right? You're gonna get a blockage inside. So since we are in this world of duality, it is very important to honor those cycles. You cannot be in just one. I mean, you can, but chances are you're gonna somewhere get either a rip in your reality where you don't understand, it's like nothing is happening, or you'll get blockages and things that are happening too fast, it's too much, it's pushing down on you. So that's why keeping up with the cycles is very, very important. And now jumping forth to the idea, let me find where I was previously to this, where to begin. So if all this knowledge sometimes feels like the newly received, the newly digested knowledge, sometimes it feels like a tumbleweed. You don't know where to begin. But I'm going to begin here. I'm going to begin with the lesson of preferences. And you will see how beautiful it is and how tumbleweedy it all is, this expression, this presentation, but how it is all one after all. So I love teachers. I love learning. I love finding teachers who are incredible teachers. It just like fascinates me. And I find teachers who are, not fascinates me, I'm so appreciative of it. You know, I'm just happy that I found someone who can explain things to me that nobody else can. It is a blessing to have a good teacher. Now, these teachers, sometimes they manifest in the physical, and that's a beautiful thing, but a lot of times these teachers are non-physical, like the teacher that gave me the lesson of preferences is fermentation. And fermentation is an incredible teacher. She's one of those teachers that the lessons to her would always be sold out, if only more people knew about her. But you might have other teachers, right? You might have other processes that teach you something. To me, fermentation ended up being like a teacher that just keeps on giving. The more I go through the processes of fermentation ingredients, the more I learn my inner workings. And it is so incredible that we have all these processes here in 3D, that we can externalize our inner workings and literally birth them here in a form of different hobbies or school or whatever processes that interests you, in your interests, right? And understand your inner workings through them. And when we are in state of harmony, which comes when you honor the cycles, you are in a state of harmony, then you begin to trust the flow, and you begin to trust that whatever question interests you is actually what you are meant to be exploring right now. It might be off the regular schedule, but it's something that you're missing in the big picture, and the universe will then guide you, or you yourself will guide yourself to the right teacher. And I've guided myself to the teacher of fermentation, and I've had many different teachers throughout this school of life. You know, one of my teachers was Pilates, and I'm not talking about the actual guy Pilates, Joe Pilates. I'm talking about the method that he created, and then others put in some things into. The method has taught me so much about my inner workings and about the workings of my body and my mind, how the two interact together, how to activate my memories, my DNA. It was absolutely incredible. But then when I've sort of mastered those lessons, right, I needed to turn and move further and find new teachers. It's growing, it's expansion, right? You've mastered something and you want to expand, you want to learn something new, maybe add something else to your belt. And I've moved on, and since then I've had many different teachers. I've tried knitting, and knitting was an incredible teacher. Fabric making, sewing, knitting. I've tried building, carpentry, and that taught me a whole bunch. And now I am here with my teacher fermentation, and she is just wonderful. And I will probably record more than one video as to every lesson that I'm seeing within the processes of fermentation, and that relate to how we work, to how the world works. And coming back to the main lesson of today, which is preferences, I would like to start with our teacher fermentation. She would like to start by first talking a little bit about fermentation. And fermentation is us basically taking an ingredient, and saying we're going to ferment it, we're going to change it, we're going to preserve it, but also maybe change its flavor profile. And there are many different ways of doing it, but what we need is an ingredient and then an environment, right? And then let me see, I don't have a store-bought ingredient with me, I don't think. No, I don't. But let's just pretend that this rock is a store-bought apple, and this is a wild apple, right? A apple found, дикое яблоко, wild apple, native apple. So what ends up happening is that originally both of these apples were uncultivated, right? So they all came from the wild, and then we've domesticated them, and we we've changed them. We've changed how they behave. So if originally both of these apples were supposed to be complete planets, like a planet that has within it everything that can possibly be, all the potentials, both of these apples would have all these qualities, all of these potentials within them, in the form of microbes, in the form of bacteria, in the form of yeast. They have everything inside them, everything within them. And in order for us to bring those qualities or those microbes or those bacteria forth, and we would have to create a proper environment for them to come forward, right? To allow for a certain aspect to come to the forefront and other aspects to stay dormant. So anything that is original, right, originally wild, or lives in a balanced environment, has within it everything that you need for successful fermentation. Whether you like to make it into like a sauerkraut, right? Whether you like to pickle the apple, whether you like to make alcohol from the apple, whether you like to make a vinegar from the apple, whatever you need, it's on that a wild apple. Now, what ended up happening with our cultivated apple is that we started using science and and changing its genetic profile, right? So let's say because we couldn't control the environment, right, or we so thought that we can't control the environment, and therefore we would like to tweak what can come forth and what cannot come forth to the forefront, right? So let's say we decided we wanted to salt our apple, right? But then there are certain environmental factors that would not allow that, because apple has a lot of natural, let's say, yeast and sugar, right? So it would be much harder to pickle an apple. So most likely those qualities that would turn this apple into alcohol would come to the forefront. And what we did is we said, no, we don't want those qualities to come to the forefront. So we're going to genetically modify this seed, or we're going to blanch it, or I forgot what the process of like killing all the yeasts on it called. But not blanching, it's just bringing it to certain temperatures, sterilizing it, right? So that those aspects, no matter what type of environment you have around you, it has around it, the apple, those aspects will never come to the front. Never ever, right? So we modified the seed, we modified the original, so that we can have a specific particular result. So those microorganisms, they will have no chance. They will have no matter what happens, they're dead. We killed them. They're not going to come to the front. So on the other hand, let's say in the perfect world, or whatever you consider to be perfect, when we have a product, an original apple that has within it everything that can be, including all the microbiota, all the microorganisms, all the bacteria, the yeast, and we decide to make alcohol with it, right? So we then know what kind of environment to create in a jar for this apple, for this planet, right, with all of its potential. how do we know what type of environment to create? Because it's been done many times before, right? Other people, like my wonderful 3D teacher, who is an expert in fermentation, Pascal Boudard. Check out his books. I highly recommend. He went through all of these processes and studied them, and now he has these books which we can look at and say, hey, this is the environment I need to create to bring forth this sort of organism, right? So if I want to, I'll give you an example. If I want to create alcohol with my apple, I already know that if I'm using my wild apple, right? If I'm using my wild apple, I know that my wild apple has sugar in it and has yeast in it. Everything necessary to create alcohol. So I need yeast who will convert my sugars into alcohol, and I'm gonna add a little bit of water. And then I also know that it's not, that yeast doesn't like oxygen, or that other bacteria loves oxygen, but because I'm gonna take it away, I'm gonna close my jar, I'm gonna take away the oxygen in my environment that I'm creating, then I know for sure that yeast is gonna come to the forefront, and all the rest of the microorganisms will either die or stay dormant, will not come to the forefront. And I will not by mistake end up with a pickled apple or a vinegar right away before converting this apple into a liqueur, right? Or like apple cider, let's say. So because of people who've gone through this process before me, I now know that through the process of fermentation, I can change this apple into alcohol, I can change this apple into vinegar, or into a pickled apple by either immersing it into an environment, a solution of a brine, right, salty solution, or a sugary sweet solution to feed the yeast, creating a pleasant environment for the organism that I want to come forth to the forefront. Or another way is by adding vinegar, right, or acidic environment, creating acidic environment. Other things are oxygen. Do I want my apple, my planet with all its potential, to have oxygen, or not to have oxygen on it, right, in the environment, in its environment? Because if I have oxygen, certain life forms will come to the front. I will create good conditions, desirable conditions for those organisms to come to the forefront. And if I take away the oxygens from this environment around this apple, this planet of mine, then those organisms will stay dormant, and maybe something else will come to the forefront, and a different process will my apple will undergo a different process of fermentation, right? So there are different types of fermentation. But what the interesting part about it is that the reason I know what to do, how to ferment my apple, and how to get to my result, is because I know what certain bacteria and organisms like and dislike. I know their preferences, right? Because I know their preferences, I know how by controlling their environment, I can either bring them forth or keep them dormant or kill them, right? So this is an interesting concept of manipulating the environment to bring forth certain things. Just as interesting as the concept of manipulating the seed to bring forth certain things. Now, I would say that both are very much alike. Although when we start with an original not genetically modified seed, and we control the environment, the method seems more alchemical, more magical, right? More organic, but you are controlling the environment. Now, when you're starting with a genetically modified seed that is predetermined to an outcome regardless of environment, you are modifying things, right? You are modifying things, and it sounds scientific, right? It sounds very scientific, somewhat kind of maybe uncomfortable, but essentially you are controlling things, right? You are controlling things based on preferences. Now, this controlling of the seed, controlling of the genes, genetic material, to get a certain outcome, bypassing the environment, no matter what happens, your corn will grow up, or your whatever will grow up, doesn't matter, right? What happens. Now, that scientific approach disregards the environment, disregards what we consider to be magical, right? So it's a little bit of that discomfort. Now, this magical approach of fermenting things by changing their, by tweaking the environment which you immerse them in for a time, right? That method requires for there not to be a scientist. It requires for the scientist not to get involved, so that you can have the most original product as it was intended to be, so you can then modify the environment and get the result that you want. But regardless of which method it is, right? Whether you're modifying the seed or modifying the environment, you are modifying things, right? And that was the lesson that I was uncovering. But then I thought, I've gone through this lesson last year, although I did not record it per se in the video. I thought, no, there's something else in there, something else that I'm supposed to understand within this lesson. And then it unfolded. The lesson is that regardless whether you are a scientist or a magician, whether you are treating the seed or treating the environment, you are working based on preferences. You have a certain set of preferences that or a desired outcome, right? And then you are tweaking things based on those preferences to get the result that you want. So then it kind of all came together, because while I was learning this through fermenting things, fermenting both foraged ingredients, wild ingredients, and store-bought or farmer's market bought cultivated ingredients. I'm combining the two for now. So as I was going through that process, I was also volunteering at this one organization, this place in the garden, and I was asked to before entering, like they have a sacred space there. Before entering that sacred space, I was asked to go over these couple of things that they ask before you enter that sacred space. And I was starting to go over these things, and I thought, it said, well, please leave all of your likes and dislikes, your judgments and your preferences behind before entering this space. And I understood everything, but preferences kind of like stood out, right? It was one of the ones that kind of rang the bell, and I'm like, preferences? What do you mean preferences? And that question must have activated this whole process of learning through fermentation, learning exactly this specific lesson, because it then unfolded in such a way as I was given the answer in this physical form through a process. But when I read the preferences, the word preferences, I thought, oh, what do they mean? Oh, okay, they probably mean like what? Like if I like red color or yellow color better, oh, I can totally leave that behind and just go for any color. And you know, what else? Oh, like if I like this type of food or maybe this type of food, yeah, I guess I can just leave that behind. That's what I've sort of been doing in the past couple of years. You know, I decided to finally let go of my preferences, like for color, let's say, or for the way things look, let's say my car. You know, I got my car. I'm not. I was not. It was not my preference, but it was the right thing to get, and I'm so happy that I didn't use my preferences to get it, because the car has served us so well without any problems. And it doesn't matter how it looks outside. Inside, it has been the most wonderful travel companion to me and my children, and I'm so thankful that I didn't decide to go with you know, something that is just beautiful. So another example for preferences, this video, as I'm recording this right now, this is the second time I'm recording. Well, actually more than the second time. I recorded this whole thing in bits and pieces as I was driving, and then it turns out that my voice was not recorded. So my preference would be to not have to go through either connecting little bits and pieces of the videos together into one video, or my preference would be to allow the flow to pass through me and then to stop. And then if I see that it's not happening, then I will just not self-express. Then I will bring that and keep it dormant, this idea that is trying to come through, because my environment created such situation that I am reading it as this aspect or this idea or this lesson should not be coming to the front. But if you dig deeper into that, right, this is what we're talking about, preferences. If I prefer to have one continuous video, if I prefer, you know, let's say if I prefer to look good in my video, and not have, you know, unwashed hair, and I let that stop me, right? That's my preference. I let my preference stop me, and then the self-expression cannot pass through. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about having preferences and learning how to let go of your preferences, because if you can't let go of your preferences, then things might happen that you can misread as something that you can sometimes maybe read it properly, but sometimes it is just trying to keep one aspect of you internally, right? It is an outside source that is controlling what's going to happen within you, whether that expression of you will come to the forefront or not, or stay dormant. And the idea is to let go of the preferences and allow for things to unfold naturally. When let's say when the video is not recording normally, that's not a natural unfoldment of things, right? Oh, something is stopping me. No, that's technological issue. That's a technological problem, right? That was stopping me of relaying this lesson, relaying this understanding, speaking about this new thing that I've learned, that I've uncovered, and that is in an interesting way to keep lessons hidden, right? But I am telling you that that's how it works. Now, coming back to the little mantra that they wanted me to read before entering the space, I didn't understand at that moment, although, you know, I always think that I'm so advanced in my lessons and that I understand so much. And then lessons just keep on coming. And the moment I think, oh, I get it, and I don't really understand, life will bring me teachers who will show me that how it really works, like what it's really like. And just as I let that idea go about preferences while I was entering that space, you know, I was like, oh, okay, I can let go of my preferences, no problem, you know, and that's it. Then something absolutely very interesting happened. The universe must have heard me and said, oh, okay, so this is where the gap is. This is where we need a little bit of learning to do. And it's not a punishment, I want you to understand. It's a blessing. It's a blessing that I have a universe that supports me in my learning, in understanding the way the world works. And then as I forgot all about preferences, we were driving with my children, and my elder son, was going on a date with his girlfriend to the mall. And as we were driving, I was like, Synok, my son, you know, we need to talk about the dates, right? And like, I love his girl and she's so cool, and I love that he likes her, and they have a very good relationship, and but every time they meet, they go to the mall, right? It's always at the mall, and I hate the mall. I don't go to the mall. So this is what I say to him, and this is coming out of me, just like, you know, just coming out of me. And I'm like, son, you know, I'm not sure if we need to talk about money for the dates, and I would like to self-express to you that I'm okay sponsoring like the dates, you know, and like giving you extra money, but I just would prefer for you not to have dates at the mall. If you were to take your girl to the beach and or like to nature, I would have absolutely no problem sponsoring your dates, or in like giving you money for like some cafe or whatever that is more natural, that is not like this junk food, expensive, overpriced food in at the mall. And there I was caught red-handed with my preferences. And as I was saying it, I was sort of at the same time observing myself, and I'm like, who is this speaking right now? Why is she saying this? And oh my God, guilty. Look at her. She's so preferential, right? She would prefer for her son to go to the beach. So she would not prefer for her son, but she would prefer to give money to her son on a date that is at the beach rather than a date that is at the mall. But a date is a date, right? And it's just my preference that either makes me feel good about giving him the money, or makes me feel bad about giving him the money. My personal preference, right? That creates a certain feeling inside. And there I was, caught red-handed in the middle of preferences, right? And I realized that letting go of preferences is not as simple as it might seem from the first look, that it's not as straightforward, and it's an ongoing process, it's an ongoing work. But the beauty of not having preferences is that you are not at the mercy of your environment, and you are not well, I'm not sure how to explain the scientific part. If you are modified to begin with to have certain preferences and not, I'm not sure how that would unfold. But you are definitely cannot be triggered by those who know your preferences into bringing to the forefront certain aspects of you, some of which might not be desirable by you, right? Like anger or jealousy or other certain things. So letting go of having preferences is also great, right? Because you can allow for the environment to guide you to bring forth certain aspects, but at the same time it is also just as valid to know how to let go at certain moments when you think you're being influenced by your environment, but you just don't want it, right? You feel like, okay, this is not beneficial, right? Or this is not healthy. Then just let go of preferences and allow for the natural flow to occur. So that is one of the big, beautiful lessons that fermentation has taught me. And these preferences, they do make us who we are. They it takes us a lifetime to learn what we prefer, right? It takes us a lifetime to learn our own preferences. I like this, I prefer this, I don't prefer that. I prefer to eat healthy food. I don't prefer to eat junk food. I prefer. And eventually they do make you, right? They either make you a healthy human being or not a healthy human being, and so on and so forth. Not a human being, but as far as the body goes, right? A healthy body or an unhealthy body. So, it takes us half a lifetime to learn those preferences, to modify our physical body, or to modify our mind, or to modify our emotional state, to know what we prefer and what we don't prefer. But we do live in a world of duality, and the trick is, after you've completely identified everything that you prefer and you prefer not, the trick is to let go of your preferences, to know how to let go of your preferences, how to accept what's been given, how to accept the natural cycle, how to find love and joy in something that you don't prefer. That is the true reality. That is the true reality. Finding love in just the way you are. Finding love for the clothes that's in your closet. And not preferring to have other clothes. Finding love and joy for the car that you're driving. And not prefer the car that someone else has. When that happens, you feel absolutely free. Free from triggers, outside circumstances. Free from anyone who knows your preferences and can control how you react based on them. Because believe me, just like we know about different organisms, people know your preferences. They know how to trigger you and how to bring certain aspects of you to the forefront. So let go of your preferences and be free. I think this is enough for this first recording here today. I want to reinstate that we must honor our cycles, our personal cycles. We have to learn them, honor them, then find what we prefer, and then let go of everything that we know. And all those are valid, just as scientific method and magic. They are actually a part of the same thing, right? Just on different ends. In order for one to be completely visible, it needs to have science disappear. In order for science to be completely visible and true, it needs for the magic to disappear. But maybe we can have both balanced. But that's probably a topic for another video. All right, be well. I love you. Bye. Guys, a few very important points that I would like to add to the previously recorded video of preferences, which I just finished recording. And then as soon as I pressed the stop button, I realized I did not include a couple of very important points. And although my preference would be not to add on and to have to combine videos together, I will transcend that preference and add what needs to be added, and edit however it needs to happen, whatever needs to be put together in small pieces for the importance of the message to pass through. So first point is why it is important to let go of the preferences. Well, if you want something new to happen, that's a good reason why, one great reason why. Because as a fermentologist, as a chef, as an experimenter, as the student in the school of life, let's say I already know that certain organisms, certain bacteria, and certain and yeast, I know their preferences, right? So I can create an environment and know the outcome. But if those organisms were to change their preferences, then I would create something new, something absolutely new, right? And if you are the organism and your environment influences you a certain way because of your preferences, then by letting go of those preferences, you can achieve a different result every time you let go of preferences and allow for things to be just as they are, right? And allow for things that you don't prefer to become a part of your reality just as easily as things that you prefer. So that is one point. And there was another point, which now that I said this one, I lost the other one. Let me see if I can remember it. New things to happen. I think maybe that was it. But if I do remember, I'll add another little video to this one. For now though, look where I'm at. Remember this spot? I made it all the way here, but the current is just too strong today for me to swim. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just wash my hair here today. Or not. I'll find a way. Hi friends. So I remembered that last point that I was trying to make in the original segment and forgot. So I'm now adding that back in here. And the point was that beauty is a big preference. And this preference in many ways can hold us back. From personal experience, I know that a lot of very good ideas, very good videos of mine were held back due to my preference to me looking a certain way on the video. So I, just like in fermentation, because of my preference, certain things were not able to come to the forefront when it would be much better for them to come to the forefront at that specific time. But due to my preferences for that are based on beauty, they went into dormancy. They were not able to be expressed. They were not able to be passed through me, through my vehicle. That brings me to the point that beauty as a preference can be used against you in many different ways. One way, for example, is by hiding things of value, of tremendous value to you, in things that are not attractive, in things that are not beautiful according to your standards, and vice versa. Many things that you don't like, that you wouldn't prefer to have in your life, hide themselves as beautiful so that you actually reach for them and invite them into your life nevertheless. So here it is, my little patchwork of a video. I hope you enjoy it. It is I can keep going and going, but it is the last piece. It is the piece that will complete the video. It just runs through my mind right now. I've recently volunteered, and this absolutely amazing, beautiful lady, Julie, taught me how to build a planter to plant fruits and vegetables and berries and herbs from scratch, from materials that other people threw away. So we were piecing together, 4 walls and corners, and piecing them together from recycling wood from wood that was about to be thrown away, from something that was considered to be no longer usable. And we've built these beautiful planters. Thanks to her, I now know how to do that. And I think that is why I am piecing these videos together, because and not and letting go of my preference to have one uninterrupted flow, which I'm sure we would all prefer, but sometimes things just don't happen that way, and sometimes you need to piece things together and allow the message to come through. Let go of your preferences, let go of your personal preferences, and allow something bigger to shine through you. So this will complete this message. I love you. I hope you have a wonderful night, and that's it. Bye.